Welcome to this video about the left hand of the accordion and how I think some good ideas are for you to work on it. So, with no further ado, here are my what I think are great ideas for working on the left hand of the accordion. Alright, so before we get into what to work on, here's what you're going for. You're going for a hand position that looks like this and not a hand position that looks like this, because most people that are starting the accordion are going to have a hand position that looks like this. I know I did. And then more people had to show me this shape. So I didn't figure that out on my own. Maybe you did, but if you didn't, you should do that. It's way better. It allows you to go down over the button with your finger, and you feel so much more depth and control of the button. So it's way better. Then just start getting to know your left hand. So you want to learn the two shapes. So the one shape is in the rows, up and down. New people to left hand are going to be drifting all over the place. It's going to feel like you're in one plane and you're not. And that just takes time, but there's all kind of ways to do it. I like, just taking things up and down the same chord like this. It doesn't really matter where you change bellows. Just go the whole length. And what's going to happen is you're going to pop up here, you're going to bounce down there. You know what I mean? I always say, use the wrist like an elevator. See how my wrist is popping up? And all the way down to the floor. Going a little too fast. Try to keep it one thing. You got your minors, your dominants, your diminished, so-called diminished. It's a minor sixth, man. There's no flatted fifth. Still the hardest one. Such a reach. Okay. All right. So you got that, and then you want to work in the columns too. Feel that direction. So if you're a third finger person or if you're a fourth finger person, doesn't matter. But you want to go down the row. I mean down the column. But you want to go down the column. Make a little doot 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 doot. Doot 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 doot. I'm on the minor, now I'm going to do the dominant. You got to make practicing fun and interesting and creative. So the more that you can imbue fun and happiness and sort of a lightheartedness to your practice, the better it's going to be. When we get really heavy and so serious, we get burned out very quick. So keep it interesting. Do do do. Minor. Dominant 7. Diminished. See, I'm really a fourth finger person, I think. Well, for this, to get to that diminished. Cool. All right, so you want to work this direction and this direction. My little spiel I always give is humans are joint. We're joint people. We don't think we are, but we are. And when it comes to the piano, it's easy and obvious. We think we're moving to the right and to the left and to the left and to the right. On the accordion, we think we're moving up and down, but really the joint is coming out like that. So if I just think I'm going down like I would pick up something on my leg here, then my hand's going to come off the keyboard. And this, I'm exaggerating, but this is what happens for all new accordion players. In both hands, in the right hand also. So I think, I'm really reaching up. But look, I'm not even on the basses anymore. But it feels like I am. So that's why I say to new people, start moving your wrists. There's going to be a time when you get so good and accurate, you don't have to move your wrist anymore. But in the meantime, you should. Because it really helps to build the functionality of the columns there. And we're not talking about the keyboard in this video, but it's the same idea. So you would want to keep your wrist, Standero's first lesson to me, keep the fingers parallel with the keys. Okie doke. All right, that's basic stuff. And the other really, really basic fundamental thing is in my opinion, this is totally my opinion, we do not really want legato. The bass wants to be legato. But it sounds better if it's not, and it works better as an accordion if it's not. I hope you can hear that. Boom, 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 boom. That's about boy around. Or boom, boom. Right? We get more percussive quality out of that. And the left hand, most of the time, that's the moving and grooving. That's like making the groove. And doing other stuff too, but so we want it to feel good. So my personal opinion is more space is better, and a little bit of space before you start most of your bass notes, because adding space, meaning like no buttons are pressing, allows you to have that, we call that a plosive ta sound. Okay, all right, so those are the preambles. Now we're going to talk about what to practice. So this is exploring the bases, right? This is assuming that you are wanting to go forward like a musician, like a creative explorer. So the bass side of the accordion is built for us creative explorers, whether we're just beginning in music and our life in music and it happens to be on the accordion, or if we're continuing on the accordion from some prior tradition. It doesn't matter. The left hand is laid out to let us make the music we want over here. It's so great. This is easy to be creative. And that's what we need to do. So the first shape is root, third, fifth, third, which we're going to make C, E, G. And you can do a couple different ways. You can do that fingering. 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3. Right? Okay. Or all right. So you got lots of different creative things you could do. Let's see. We could do twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Right? We could do that. We could also do I found my thrill on Blueberry Hill. On Blueberry Hill. Something, I don't know what the rest of the lyrics. Dum, da, dee, dee, dum. E, dum, dum. The accordion's such a great instrument. Such a good instrument. Okay, so you gotta have fun and like sing. Why don't you just sing some tunes? Sing some major key songs while you're working on your left hand, because that will allow you to really listen. And over here, you can't hide from the groove. You know, your groove is apparent. If all you're doing is your voice in your left hand, that left hand groove is apparent. So that's what I suggest. Anyways, this is it. You could take that pattern anywhere you want, any key, any progression. Okay, so now from that pattern, which is a root, third, fifth, and the key is C, that we're doing it. Now we're just going to add the sixth, which is up here. So if I'm on C, that's F, and the counter bass of F is A, and that's the sixth that we're going to add. So we have C, which is our root, E, which is the third, G, which is the fifth, and A, remember that's one towards our feet and one up on the counter bass. That's the sixth. And that's a pretty good boogie woogie bass line. Right? Boom, 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 ba beat, boom, boom, beat, dum. Okay. So that one's pretty obvious. And then we're going to go one step further. Okay, so to the B flat. Now, where's that B flat? So we got C, F, and B flat. So down here, and I only know how to play it with my pinky. So you might be able to figure out other fingering here. You could probably drop the fourth finger down, but there, I use my pinky. There's a little grace note. I'm not going to include that in the lesson, but yeah, a double extra credit if you get that. So same pattern, root, third, fifth, sixth, 7th, 6th, 5th, 3rd, 5th, and then we got to go back to the 1 chord. Okay, so there I did C, C, E, F. Now F sharp, that's a crazy reach. It's not that crazy of a reach, but like for a beginner, that's a crazy note to find. So this is a great time for me to do an aside and tell you what I think is an excellent exercise that helped me, which is to work on all the counter bass notes. It really helps you get a sense of the relationships that you get. So we know that we have circle of fifths this way from our bass note, because in the left hand, everything is relative, right, to where we are. So like, let's say C is the tonal center. Well, you got the 5th and the 2nd and the 6th and the 3rd and the major 7th. And then you have the 4th and the flatted 7th, flatted 3rd, flatted 6th, flatted 2nd, whatever. But the counter bass is incredibly useful and usually elusive and evasive and mysterious for us. So if we go through the counter bass real quick, we have the root and then we have the major 3rd this way. And then when we start going diagonal down, we have the major 7th, we have the tritone, which is super useful, and then we have a half step above, which is also really, really useful. So that's was jogged my mind. So to do that exercise, like you could even do you could do the major chord and the counter bass and the right, something like that, or dominance. Whatever you want, but explore that. That's really, really useful to know those, because especially you can chord combine them. So the tritone you can chord combine with the same dominant 7th chord. Really good. It's basically, it's how we make chords a half step above or a half step below, same way. Chords, dominant 7 chords off the counter bass. So here you have C7 in my index finger and C bass, and then I'm going to grab the tritone with a C7. F sharp plus C7 equals F sharp 7 with a sharp 4. Those two triads will definitely get our point across there. Okay. And the other one is, this is the same idea. It's just a half step above C7. So there you have C sharp. And if I move my chord button to the G7 and that C sharp, now I've got a half step above. So my index finger is just moving like this. It's wild. C7, G7, C7, G7. And my bass finger, which is my 4th finger and my 3rd finger, is going to move from C to C sharp and C to C sharp. So I'm getting a dominant 7 chord in C and then a dominant 7 chord in C sharp, although jazz musicians never think of that. We say D flat. So you could have, I went too far in that first one. You could do like Caravan. Okay, all right. So there's an example. All right, that's the aside for the bass notes. Good. We finished our walking bass. Let's talk about now bass lines, and then we will do simple chord button combinations that are good for you. So you should learn the major scale in addition to other stuff, but the major scale has a couple really important shapes in it that are bass lines. So it's good just to learn the major scale, although you want to make it musical and play with it. So again, here's the C. I'm going to do it with my middle finger because often I play it like that. That's the first way I learned it, because I first was taught at the Acme Accordion School to use my 3rd finger. And then I studied with a accordion player from Europe, and he demanded that he didn't demand. He said, I really think that you should switch to 4th finger. So I did. But I found you use them both. Okay, this stool is really squeaky. So I'm going to go down first. And that's what I suggest you do. Go C, B, A, G, F, E, D, C. When I was beginning, the hardest thing was this stretch. My hand was not good at that. I just want to show you. a top level view because that's really good. See, I keep the curl in my fingers. Really, really important. Okay, from that we can do so many things. Okay, so with that we have a couple bass lines. We have the Meow Mix commercial. I want chicken, I want liver, Meow Mix, please deliver. It skips. It skips to C, so I must go to B. There we go. We got the Meow Mix commercial, but that's it. That's a great bass line. Right? A little walking bass line. So that's from the root down to the fifth. Then you have from the fourth down to the... If we started on the G, that's a good one too. So that one, that shape would be perfect for G blues. So since I want to show everything in C, let's take this part of the scale, G, F, E, D, and let's just transpose it to C. And that's so easy. So it's the same. Skip one, go to the counterbass, come up one, however you think about it. I mean, where you're going to get to is where you know where the notes are, and you have this all dialed into how far the intervals are. That's how a musician thinks about the left hand of the accordion. How far is a half step? How far is a major third, a minor third, all that sort of stuff. That's what you want to know. And then you'll get your handful of chord combining stuff, because there's really not that many chord possibilities on the left hand of the accordion compared to where you have, real polyphony. So this is sort of limited polyphony. Anyways, okay, so you got that bass line. So we're going to take that, not the Meow Mix, but the other bass line, and we're going to make that... Okay. If I had to do it over and over again, I mean, a professional musician would notice, but a regular person wouldn't. I gotta get to that. It's weird. Okay, so it gives us somewhere to go, and you get it, and that works on the dominant 7 chord because it's got that dominant 7 there. If we had a major chord, which we didn't want to sound dominant, not very good. It should keep going. Now I just used the other half of the major scale, not the Meow Mix, but the other one, for D. Because even though it's a minor chord there, that top part of the minor chord that doesn't have the third, because we're descending, that's the same, because it's a minor 7. So if we go go to the G7 and do the same shape. D minor, let's D minor, now you need a diminished chord. And back to Meow Mix. So the F, Meow Mix. Now let's see, what do we got here? It's gonna go minor. So maybe it's a no, that doesn't work. Major. Then the major. Back to the C. Now we have a D dominant 7, so we got to do the second half. I'm just playing like the first part. So D and then G, and then Meow Mix. Start of the D minor, do G, da, da, something like that. there is a real world example of just using the major scale to walk bass for all the chord changes to La Vie en Rose. Okay, and so if you can do that, then you can definitely do, let's see, Twinkle, twinkle, little. So I'm going to use the Meow Mix major on C and on F. Little star, how I wonder. Now when I get to the dominant 7 chord, which is the G, I'm going to use the second half. What you are. Okay, cool. And that's great. And just practicing that is going to force your ears, hey, how do I get my left hand in this crazy shape, sideways, and using the air and trying to hear boom, 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 not meow. Oatmeal, I call that. Okay. All right, so those are your walking bass patterns. Now, finally, last but not least, we're going to talk about some really, really, really important things. So you want to have beautiful oompa patterns with all sorts of color and movement and combinations of bass lines. Sometimes they're in a row, sometimes they're angular. Really, the accordion is pretty amazing for all that stuff. But what you need to do is you need to practice. If you haven't done alternating bass, so-called, get there. Get to where you can do root fifth, root fifth, root fifth, root. Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above. Right, okay. Then you want to go to the third. All right? Because we can make such pretty stuff happen. We can start to have a lot of motion when we can grab the third when we want, and especially when we hear, okay? Because you can start to make lines, which is really what you want. That adds a whole other dimension. It keeps everything from being so kind of annoying. Much more, you get this other thing happening. So what I suggest is practice everything with the third, the major third. Every chord that has a major third. Practice, so that's the one you're hitting. So I'm going to do twinkle, twinkle. It doesn't sound right, but that's okay. It's an exercise. Then to the F, little star, how I wonder what you... I could do the dominant 7. What you are. Back to the third. Practice all your stuff where the third, you're just hitting it over and over and over. And especially when the chord changes, hit the third. Because that's where your brain's going to go, no, the root. Yeah, okay, the root's cool now and then, or a lot, but also the not root, the third is so important. So important. I cannot overemphasize that. Okay. And then the one that sucks, that's really not musical, but very good for us. Twing, twas a ball, twing. So we're going to practice the fifth, which is a crazy shape. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. Sounds so bad. How I wonder what. So I'm just, I didn't even get it. There it is. I had to change my fingering. What you are. It's so bad. But do that. Do that on your tunes also. Then you can make movements. So, twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high. Let's see. Like a diamond in the sky. That's a good one. Okay, so I did ba-doo-dee-doo as the descending bass line. Like a diamond in the sky. Twinkle, twinkle, little. How else could we do that? Twinkle, twinkle, twinkle. I'm trying to think of other lines here. Twinkle, twinkle. Let's see. Twinkle, twinkle, star. Above that would be a B natural. So, anyways, you can make a bunch of really cool bass lines here. So another cool thing to do once you've got this is to harmonize your major scale. It's going to be a whole different fingering thing. But if I do the notes of the major scale, but I use either the 1, 4, or the 5 chords, so C, F, or G, right, to harmonize every single melody note. So do, re, play the right chord, mi, fa, sol. Now this I could do G or C, or this, sol, la, si, a little flat there. Do. What do I want to do? No, E. That's really good too. So I've got the major scale going in the bass, but I'm harmonizing it. B. There we go, just like that. And this is super useful, super useful. So all this stuff is can come out in creativity. Okay, so that's what I suggest for getting into the left hand as from a musician's perspective, right? Cool.